Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Hard Count podcast. Today, we're going to be going over our picks for Week 14 of the NFL season. Today, I have a very special guest, Evan. Into Sports, welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Invited myself onto this podcast. Excited for this Week 14 picks right here. We're going to disagree quite a bit, probably.
Most likely.
As we always do.
Yep.
And you want to jump right into it?
Yeah, let's get right into it. Okay, so the first game, Dallas 6-6 at Chicago, who has the same record, 6-6. Evan, what's your prediction here? Dallas is 3-point favorites.
I'm going to take Dallas to win the game on the road Thursday night, 24-20. Now,
that is exactly my score.
Really?
24-20. Yep.
Well, I said we were going to disagree. Maybe we won't as much as I thought.
Yep.
Both teams are coming off they both played on Thanksgiving, so they both have the full 7 days to recover, even though it's a Thursday night game.
Yep. So not that disadvantage of a short week that one team might have over the other.
Yes, and normally when you're on the short week, I give the home team probably a point advantage, but there's no advantage to give because both teams have the full week, like I said. We know Chicago's limited offensively. We know Dallas has a pretty high-powered offense, but they were really stifled by the Bills' defense on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I don't know how much that'll affect this game. I think, again, we keep saying this Dallas team, this is a must-win game for them. And I don't know if they're finally going to come through. I think that it's going to be this game here where they finally get that little bit of momentum that they need because the Eagles playing Giants, they're kind of nipping at their heels right now. And I think the Cowboys want to sustain that one-game lead as they go and play each other later in the season. So I think that's just kind of a motivation thing. People have been, doubting them because – and then Jason Garrett, again, he just lost another big game over Thanksgiving. So that's just a huge loss for him. I think he'll be, motivated to come back, and I think the players just all want to win a game.
Yeah, so I think we're going to obviously agree exactly on that game.
Yep.
Chicago matchup, I'll just throw it out there. Allen Robinson, Byron Jones, number one receiver, number one corner.
I'll be interested to see how Mitch Trubisky plays this week because over the past couple of weeks, he's actually played pretty well. And if he can go out and have another solid outing, then I think Chicago has a chance in this one, but I'm still going to take Dallas because I think they're more consistently good throughout the season.
Yeah, and you do your quarterback grades now, and you graded Trubisky pretty well on Thanksgiving.
Yes, I did. He graded around about an 83, so it was a pretty solid performance by him. Not too many mistakes. He had a bunch of relatively good throws, and I thought it was a good outing by him. Okay, so is that it from the Dallas-Chicago game?
That's really it.
All right, so let's move on to Indianapolis at Tampa Bay. This is Sunday, 1 o'clock. Indianapolis is 6-6 heading in this game off of a loss to Tennessee, and Tampa Bay heading in this game 5-7. Tampa Bay's 3-point favorites. Evan, who do you have here?
I think it's going to be close, just as the line suggests. I like Tampa Bay by 2 in a pretty high-scoring game, 28-26. We know Winston's going to turn over, but he's also going to score. I believe they're third in scoring this year, Tampa Bay. Indianapolis, a little bit of a free fall from they
I
were
would agree.
kind of a upper-tier team, maybe fringe top 10.
Yep.
Now they've regressed to middle of the pack. I still like them. Points will be scored because of Tampa Bay's secondary. But Tampa Bay's hot, and I'm going to ride him here.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but I think I agree that Tampa Bay's hot, but I'm going to disagree with this pick. I have Indianapolis winning this game 23-20. I think it's going to be a little lower scoring than you said, and I think that's the reason that I give the Colts an advantage here. If it goes to a higher scoring game, I think Tampa Bay does have the advantage because Jacoby Brissett, that Colts offense, just doesn't have enough firepower to just go down the field and score every single time and keep up with those higher-powered offenses. So I think that Tampa Bay, it's going to be a little slower of a game for them. They're not going to get as much going. And I think that the defense of the Colts is just going to kind of prevail in this one, and the offense is just going to kind of do its part to win this game, 23-20 for them. Again, Indianapolis kind of hanging in the balance with those teams that they really can't lose much more if they want to make that playoffs for the AFC, and I think it's going to be a game against a opponent that they should want to beat if they want to get in that playoff spot. So I think it's going to be a motivation game for them as they head into these final couple weeks of the season, and they'll just squeak out Tampa Bay by 3.
Well, and for Indianapolis, I look at the matchup here. They want to run the ball behind the offensive line. Marlon Mack may or may not play. We don't know. But Tampa Bay, that's a top 3 run defense in the National Football League.
Second best defense in the league, rushing defense.
And probably no T.Y. Hilton. Could you imagine what he would do in this game if he was healthy against Tampa Bay secondary, like I already said?
Yep. I agree with all of that. It's just I think that the Colts defense is going to do its part here, and the offense is just going to do just enough to keep Indianapolis in the lead in this game. So is that all you got to say for the Indianapolis-Tampa Bay game?
Yep. Next game.
All right, let's go to Baltimore Ravens, 10-2, won 8 straight, and just beat San Francisco in a close game. Tucker game-winning field goal at Buffalo, who is 9-3 to everyone's surprise, and they beat Dallas on Thanksgiving. It was a great showing for them. Baltimore is favored by 6. What do you think for this game?
I was shocked by this line, and I realized I am playing with fire, but I'm willing to play with fire. I'm going to take the Bills to win the game, 24-23, and my reasoning here is at home. They had the mini bye because they played on Thanksgiving. Baltimore didn't. So I give 3.5 points for home field because great stadium up there. A little half a point for coming off the mini bye. I think Baltimore is a clear better team. I think Baltimore is, one of that upper echelon team. I have them ranked number 1. I like to do ties, so I have them tied with a few other teams. But Baltimore, they've been so hot recently, and they're not gonna go undefeated the rest of the year. I think we know that. And I think this is where the hot streak fizzles out.
I disagree with this pick. I think that the Ravens will probably lose one more. I think they do have a shot at going 14-2, but I'm looking at those games, Browns, Pittsburgh, back-to-back, 2 division games at the end of the season. I think those are the games that they're going to lose. I think, sure, the Bills did have that extra time. I think the Ravens are just a better team, and the conditions are going to be good. I don't know. I don't really think that favors either team. But with the Ravens, I think they're just a little bit better coached. I do like the Bills coaching. I think it's a very good organization. They've got a really great defensive head coach who's just been phenomenal throughout these last couple of weeks. Hanging up there, the Patriots only held Dallas to 9, and Buffalo did a pretty good job against that Dallas offense as well. So I liked what I've seen from them, and I do think that line might be a little bit sketchy, but I think if Baltimore's going to win this game, it could easily be a blowout. As we've seen, Baltimore has a tendency to blow out these teams that, if they get ahead, they could easily just extend that lead. So I think Baltimore is going to win this game because I think they want to stay in contention for that number 1 seed, and I'm not saying that Buffalo doesn't want to. So yeah, I have Baltimore winning this one. I think Lamar Jackson is going to continue his great streak of play. We'll see if Buffalo can do something to stop that. We haven't seen anybody really, really succeed so far, but yeah.
I was just so impressed with what Buffalo did on Thanksgiving to go into Dallas, and they really earned my respect there. I was doubting them. I know, some of the analytics, DVOA Football Outsiders, they're doubting him still. But I'm drinking the Kool-Aid on Buffalo.
I agree with that, but I don't think that their Kool-Aid tastes sweeter than Baltimore's. So, all right, let's go to the next game. Detroit at Minnesota. Minnesota's favored by 13.5 here, and I think that's a little higher than I expected, but I think we all agree that Minnesota should win this game. Do you agree, Evan?
I do. Just like you said, the spread was a little bit higher than expected. I have it at 10. Minnesota 27, Detroit 17. And this is the kind of game that Minnesota's going to win. 1 o'clock window, no pressure.
Yep,
and
where
for
Kirk
me,
Cousins thrives.
Yeah, Kirk this year, he has shaken the narrative for me. I'm not scared of picking him in primetime anymore. I know he's 0-8 on Monday Night Football.
Me too.
But even last night, he was pretty impressive.
It didn't impress me so much, but he was better than I thought that he was going to be.
Yeah, it wasn't a performance that's like, what did I just watch? but it also wasn't a performance where I was like, I can't believe
What
I'm
did I
watching
just
this.
watch?
Yeah, either way, it was pretty solid, and I'll give him credit there to go to Seattle and play pretty well.
Yep, but I think it's still ideal conditions for, especially at home in Minnesota. That just seems to be where Kirk Cousins has thrived, and especially against a team that's just unraveling right now in Detroit. Like their defense, it started out the season pretty good. They started out 2-0-1. Can you believe that? They've gone 1-8 in their last 9 games.
And no Stafford this week. It'll probably be David Blau again.
I mean, he wasn't bad actually. I thought he was fine, and he made some good throws here and there, but I just don't think that the team just has any momentum whatsoever, and like I just don't see them to like have any chance of beating this Minnesota team that will they're going to want to stay in contention with the NFC. They don't want to allow the Rams to jump them in that NFC playoff picture. If the Rams can win that game, we'll talk about later. So, yeah, what else do you have to say?
Minnesota's going to absolutely be on fire offensively. Detroit, terrible
agree.
in the secondary. Thielen is going to Cousins is going to pick on Justin Coleman, the slot corner.
Yep.
Thielen's going to be back, and he'll be in the slot. That's just a mismatch nightmare. I'm going against Thielen in fantasy football, so I'm very concerned about this game. Dalvin Cook, if he plays. If he doesn't play, then Madison will be perfectly great on the ground.
Yes. I do believe Dalvin Cook is going to play. I saw a report that said he was confident that he's going to play, so that'll just be even more of a nightmare for Detroit. And, yeah, so that's just a story of 2 different teams here. One team that's unraveling, one team that's is getting things together, and they're playing some pretty good football right now. So, yeah. All right, let's move on to the next game. Another game that I don't think anyone thinks is going to be close, and this is Washington Redskins, who are on a 2-game win streak at Green Bay. So, Washington over the last 2 games has won more games than Green Bay has. But
Nele, what do you think about that?
Nonetheless, Green Bay is 13-point favorites.
Yeah, I agree with the spread here. I have
Me
Green
too.
Bay 28-14, doubling the score of Washington. We don't really need to spend a lot of time talking about this. We know Aaron Rodgers at home in Lambeau Field is going to light up a bad Washington defense.
Yep.
They were impressive slightly against Carolina. Haskins was a little bit better, but to go in this kind of environment, I do not expect him to perform.
Yeah, I actually saw from Pro Football Focus, I saw that Haskins was the highest graded player on the Redskins.
Which I disagree with.
I
Darius
disagree with
Geis.
Darius Geis also, I believe that. So, yeah, but I have Green Bay. Actually, I have Washington covering the spread by 1, 14-26 here. So, it's pretty much the same. So, I just don't think Washington's going to come out here and do anything special. I think the Smith brothers are going to be just probably all over Dwayne Haskins all day long, and it's just going to be a long day for the Redskins team. And I'm happy for them. They deserve some success, but it's going to come to an end for them this week in Green Bay.
Agreed.
Yeah, I don't think we have too much to say there because it's pretty simple.
Yeah, that's when you can put on your paper. You just write it in Sharpie.
Yep.
There's no erasing this.
95 or 98% chance it happens. So, okay. Now let's move on to a game that, again, isn't so interesting. There's only a couple. Most of the games this week are relatively interesting. But this one is Denver at Houston. Houston coming off a huge win against New England. Primetime Sunday Night Football. And, yeah, they just got a huge boost of confidence. Denver, though, they had a comeback. They had a big fourth quarter pass interference call that led to their
Terrible call.
Yeah, but it was a big motivational boost for them. Drew Lock, first ever NFL career start. I did like what I saw from him there, but I just don't think, Deshaun Watson and company on that Texans team, I don't think it's going to be slowing down too much. The line is 9.5 here. I have Houston winning 27-19 in this game. So Denver does cover by a little bit, but I still think Houston is going to control this game completely, and it won't be a question here. Houston wins for me.
More of the same for me. 24-17 Houston. A little bit lower scoring. Both of these defenses have played pretty well recently.
Yeah, they have.
Houston getting more healthy in the secondary. They pick up Hargraves off waiver wire. Their defense is certainly improving. And Denver, Drew Lock, second start. He was pretty good in the first start.
Yep.
Cortland Sutton, amazing. What I've been seeing him out of wide receiver against what I think is the third best corner in Casey Hayward, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, it was a really great performance all around there. And I don't know, maybe we could see a developing connection between these two. If they get things going, Drew Lock probably got a long career ahead of him, maybe. But, Cortland Sutton, great receiver. That could be a great connection to look for in the future. So, yeah, is that all you got to say for that game?
Yep, that's all.
All right, sounds good. Okay, let's move on to, I think, one of the best games of the week, one of the best 2 in my opinion. San Francisco 10-2, just coming off a loss to Baltimore, at New Orleans 10-2. I think this is a great game in New Orleans. Obviously, New Orleans has that little extra time because they played on Thanksgiving. The line here is New Orleans -2.5, so not going to give that full field goal advantage. But, yeah, so I have New Orleans winning this game 23-21 in their home building, and I think a lot of that has to do with their long week. Sean Payton, who I think is probably the second best coach in the league. Kyle Shanahan has been great, but Sean Payton with that extra time, I think is just gonna come. New Orleans is gonna come out firing, and yeah, I think it'll be an interesting game. Maybe like close down to the end for sure, but I think New Orleans is gonna win, especially at home.
I'm going to take the Saints to win very close, 27-24. I think on a neutral field, if we line these teams up today, I'd probably lean San Francisco by about a point or a half point.
I would agree.
New Orleans field, worth 4. That's why I'm going to take them to win by 3.
Yep.
The mini bye helps. I'm going a little bit higher scoring just because it's in the dome. I was going to go lower scoring. I think the over-under's 44. So Vegas suspects a little bit lower scoring.
That's exactly what I have. 44 points scored in this game, 21-23. So, yeah.
Yeah, I just think there's a little bit too many weapons offensively. The quarterback play.
I can see that.
Solid. Solid for San Francisco. We know what Breeze does.
Yep.
The defenses, both. Really solid. Both teams like to play physical on the line of scrimmage. That's what they pride themselves on.
Yeah, I've been loving what I've been seeing from especially the New Orleans run defense has just been outstanding. I've loved what I've seen from them. And then, San Francisco, they did do a good job with the Ravens last week. They really impressed me. They showed a better job at stopping Lamar Jackson and that scheme than anyone else had before them. So big props to San Francisco there. And New Orleans, again, their defense, it was a little shaky for a couple weeks. Lattimore out, but now he's back, and that run defense is as good as ever. So super excited to watch this matchup. San Francisco is the second highest scoring team in the league, and I think New Orleans has just as much firepower. Michael Thomas, arguably the best receiver in the league. He's definitely playing the best right now. But, yeah, so super excited to watch that game. You have anything else to say, Evan?
I'll throw out a matchup here. Kamara, he's been a little bit hot and cold this season.
I would agree.
And Fred Warner, linebacker, San Francisco. He's dominating right now. Second year, he's big time already. That's a very interesting matchup to watch. Kamara running those little ins and outs coming out of the backfield.
Yep. And I liked what I was seeing from the Saints. They're using him in all creative ways, put him in the receiving position. It's really fun to watch what Sean Payton's doing with this offense, and we'll see how this great defense matches up with this offense this weekend. And
last thing, San Francisco, they played Green Bay, which they steamrolled, but they just went to Baltimore and played a really physical game in the rain.
Yep.
New Orleans off the mini bye, so I worry about San Francisco there in terms of the fact that they're going to be a little bit tired. What are they called? New Orleans, my team. They're going to be a little bit more well-rested, but I think it's very, very close, very competitive game.
Yeah, hard-fought game from both teams, and it's just going to be it's going to be a game similar to the Ravens-49ers game. So that's all I think we both have to say for that game. Let's move on to Cincinnati, who's off their first win. I know, can't believe it. Cincinnati got a win, but I actually can believe it. Cleveland, at Cleveland, 5-7. Coming off a loss to Pittsburgh, kind of a revenge game for the crazy incident that happened 2 weeks ago at this point, 3 weeks ago.
As Freddie Kitchens would say, Pittsburgh started it.
Yep. That was unacceptable. I don't know what to say there. It's just like bad organization, as Colin Cowherd would say.
Bad organization, a good organization.
Yep, and that's exactly what I think here. But Cincinnati, Cleveland's favored by 9. I have them winning by exactly 9. I have 26-17. Cleveland wins over Cincinnati. I don't think that Cincinnati's magic is going to happen another week because Baker Mayfield has been tearing it up against bad teams this season. I expect some big things maybe from Odell could start getting it rolling this week. Maybe Jarvis Landry, we saw, had a couple of good catches in the last game. But I think Andy Dalton's a decent quarterback. He played well for them last week. I don't think it's going to happen again. I think that Cincinnati's going to play decent football, not terrible, but Cleveland's just going to play better football. What do you think, Evan?
This is the team that Baker Mayfield lit up twice last year.
Yep.
And that's why we sang his praises in the offseason. He's been great at letting up bad teams, but he's been poor against the top elite defenses. And this is a bottom team, so he should light it up.
Indeed.
I expect Cleveland to score points. 26-18. Cleveland wins the game at home.
So we're very similar there.
Yeah, very similar. Chubb in the run game, just going to wear out the Cincinnati front seven.
Yeah.
Odell, Landry, maybe some plays over the top against this weak defense.
Yep, like we saw in the Dolphins game, 41-17 there. Like we saw a bunch of big plays down the field, and I'm interested to see what they do with Kareem Hunt this week. We've seen some interesting ways that they've used him. I really like the impact that he's had on this team, just on the ground, through the air. They've been using him in all different ways.
He's kind of been the third down back.
Yep.
You know?
Very versatile also, and so I think it just adds another piece to this offense. I think if this team really gets their act together as an organization, I think it's a really talented team. But yeah, so I think again, Cleveland, we both have them winning by 26-17, 26-18 for you, Evan. But yeah, I think that's all we got to say for that game. Let's move on to Carolina, who is 5-7 coming into this week. Terrible loss against the Redskins last week. They're just another team that's downward spiraling. They were 5-2, was it, at one point in the season, or was it 5-3?
Maybe even 6-2. No, 5-2.
No, I think it was 5-2. I remember them being 5-3. But Atlanta, they had a couple big wins against Carolina and New Orleans. Last week, New Orleans got their revenge, and I expect this week Carolina will get their revenge. I know that Vegas favors Atlanta by 2.5 in this game, but I have Carolina winning by 1, 28-27 in this game. I think it's going to be a close game, but and relatively high scoring again. But I think we're going to see a little bit of the better Kyle Allen that isn't, we've seen very polar Kyle Allens. We've seen very good Kyle Allen, or pretty good Kyle Allen, and then just incompetent Kyle Allen. So I think it's going to be a better game for him against this Atlanta secondary, which just isn't so great. But yeah, that's what I think is going to happen in this game. McCaffrey, DJ Moore are going to have big games. So yeah, that's what I think is going to happen in this game. Again, Carolina wins by 1. What do you think, Evan?
This is really a toss-up for me, and these are the games I'm bad at predicting. But I'm going to take Atlanta, 27-24.
Okay.
They come off the mini-bye. I always look at that. That means you're playing on a Thursday night the previous week, so you get 4 days extra rest. They're at home, so that's worth 3 points total, mini-bye plus home. And that's really the difference in the teams I see. Neutral field, I mean, it's like, who do you want, Carolina, Atlanta? I don't know. They're very similar to me. I'll take the better quarterback. Now, I'm a little bit concerned and confused at the same time. How is Carolina going to play after they just fire Ron Rivera? I don't know who the official interim coach is, but I bet it will be Norv Turner, the offensive coordinator. He's been head coach before. Are they going to get that new head coach spark, the interim head coach spark that teams often get?
I don't know. We'll have to see, but maybe they will suffer a little bit. I think it'll be interesting to watch. I think it's going to be a good game. Another, again, just repeat what you said, a toss-up game. So, yeah, we disagree on that one, but I think we both agree that it's kind of a toss-up, close, relatively high-scoring game. We got similar point ranges there. But, yeah, okay. So let's move on to another game with two teams that are pretty bad. Miami, 3-9 at New York, 4-8. Vegas favors the Jets by 5.5, and I have the Jets winning this game. Also, I have them winning 20-16. I think it's going to be
low scoring.
yes, very low scoring. I think it's going to be just a struggle game. I do like what I've seen from Brian Flores and his Dolphins. I think it's a good team, hardworking team. It's a good organization. I think they're getting things back together, and for the next couple of years, I think they could be an exciting team to watch that slowly puts itself together, bits and pieces at a time. And I'm really excited to watch this team. But the Jets, Sam Darnold, he's actually been playing pretty well. Again, another polar quarterback. Sometimes he'll play great, sometimes not so much. Le'Veon Bell, Jamison Crowder, Robbie Anderson, they've all proved that they can be at times vital weapons. And I think that's what determines if the Jets are going to be a good team. It's just if that offense can be clicking or not. When we see the Jets play well, they're a very good team. But when not, they're just a very bad team. And you can't just be so inconsistent like that. If they can get things together, I think it could be a very good team. Their defense is solid. Not a great defense, but it's pretty good. So I just don't see Miami coming in to New York here and winning. So, yeah.
This is a true AFC stink fest. Two bad teams. And I'm going to take the Jets, but I'm a little bit scared because Adam Gase is a terrible head coach.
Yes, he is.
And I'm betting on him. And I like Brian Flores.
I do
He has
too.
his troops motivated and ready to play every week.
Yep.
So sitting here, I kind of want to change it. But I'm going to stick with Jets. 26-21. They're at home. Like you said, Darnold. He can be really good against the bad teams. And he has been that oftentimes this year.
Yep.
And Miami,
Especially
terrible
teams,
defense.
in my opinion, that don't get to him, don't force him out of the pocket, don't force him to do uncomfortable things. I've noticed if Sam Darnold gets forced out of the pocket, if he has to go through his reads, he kind of struggles a little bit, makes some dumb decisions, inaccurate throws, and I don't think Miami is a good enough team to really make him uncomfortable. They don't have a good enough defense to do that, so I think Sam Darnold could really get in a groove, and that could be scary for the Dolphins, as it is scary for any team right now.
Yeah, and that's why I like a little bit higher scoring. Fitzpatrick, he's shown he can put up some points on bad teams.
Yeah.
Same with Darnold. Miami doesn't have a run game. Kalen Ballage on IR. That's good for their team, though. He was hogging up carries. He'd go 11 for 14 yards on the ground.
Yep.
So we don't have any more of that. But Devontae Parker.
Dolphin.
My goodness. What I saw last week, absolutely just going up and getting the football over the Philadelphia receivers with speed and physical dominance down the field. And like I said, I just really like the way that Miami fights week in and week out.
I do. Originally, I had this game as Miami winning it, but I decided to change my mind because I started thinking about it a little more. I think it could go higher scoring, but I'm going to stick with the lower scoring. I think it's going to be a little more of a struggle fest. It's going to be a touchdown here, and then it's just kind of back and forth, just bad possession after bad possession for both teams. But, yeah. Okay.
Big game for Robbie Anderson there.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah, I do. He's been good the last 2 weeks. I think he had, at least 80 yards last week against Bengals. 2 weeks ago, I remember
well.
Raiders, he was good.
Yeah,
He had a touchdown.
Raiders, everyone was just clicking on all cylinders. They were getting everything done, and that Jets team is a dangerous Jets team, as I said. So, yeah, I think that's all we have to say for that game. Okay, let's go to Los Angeles Chargers at Jacksonville. Both these teams are 4-8, probably out of the AFC playoff picture at this point. And yeah, Chargers are favored by 3, and I'm going with the upset here. I'm getting some Minshew mania. Minshew starting at quarterback now. They benched Nick Foles after he struggled a couple, actually pretty mightily.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think it's just going to be a little bit of a spark. I think Jacksonville is going to win this game 26-23. I think they're going to have a big performance that isn't so big, but it's just big in in terms of Minshew coming in, and it's a win over the Chargers, and I think it'll be a big emotional game for them. And yeah, I think Chargers, they're just such a talented team. It's such a shame that they haven't been playing so well this year. I really projected they were going to have a great season, but it's just all gone wrong for them.
They are a 4-A football team, but they don't play like a 4-A football team. All of their losses have been within 7 points, and when it's when it's within 7 points, those are games that are coin flips. Last year they went 12-4. They were winning those within 7-point games. Most of the games were within 7 points. This year they're not getting the benefit of the doubt. They're getting terrible pass interference calls late in the game, and they're losing in dramatic fashion. I think they get on the right track here and beat a Jacksonville team that I think was deflated. Now I worry that Minshew gives them a spark in the locker room, because I think with Foles and Marone and Coughlin, they were sick of it. They didn't want any more excuses for the quarterbacks, and I think that they weren't playing hard at all. That's what we saw the last few games. Lack of effort. And I rarely say that about NFL football teams. And Chargers, motivation from the game last week, where they lost to Denver. And I'll throw out a matchup here. DJ Chark, athletic, down the field receiver versus Casey Hayward. Who's going to play man-to-man, shadow coverage. He was burnt by Sutton last week.
We'll see about that this week. And that's, as you said, Minshew. That's why I'm picking the Jaguars in this one. And you say that the Chargers are playing like not playing like a 4-8 team. I really think that they are. At certain points they see sparks of greatness, but they're just too inconsistent. Just Phillip Rivers turning the ball over. They're kind of similar to the Bucs right now for me, just with Jameis Winston, those turnovers. They have the ability to put points on the board. I think they're a little bit of a better team than the Buccaneers are, but they've been losing those close games, and I think this is going to be another one of those close games that just they lose again. So I have again Jacksonville winning 26-23 here, and
I think that's all we got for that game. It's going to be a slugfest. Two teams that seasons are over.
Yep.
A little bit of disappointment, higher expectations going into the year.
Especially for the Chargers.
Yes. And Derwin James being out, that helps the Chargers. Being in. He was
definitely,
out.
Definitely helps the
Chargers. That helps them quite a bit.
Yeah. So now let's go on to the other game that people are super excited about, and I am, along with them, super excited about 8-4 Kansas City Chiefs coming off a huge win. I believe it was 40-9 against the Raiders.
That's a big time win.
Off a bye, Andy Reid off a bye. At New England, who is coming off a loss. Now they're playing in Foxborough. I think they have a 22-game win streak in Foxborough, something ridiculous like that. But I predict the Kansas City Chiefs to upset the New England Patriots, break that win streak. I have them winning 30-24 here. My reasoning for that, again, I will stand by this. I don't think that the Patriots are able, oftentimes to keep up with the higher power offenses that are able to put points on the board. Kansas City, we've seen it with Texans, Baltimore. When the teams put up more than 20, 23, 26, that's when New England starts to struggle. And I'll give them credit, it's their defense holds teams to under those points. But unfortunately for the Patriots, they're in the AFC. And those AFC teams, those are the teams that have higher power offenses. Baltimore, Texans, Chiefs. They're the teams that are more offensively oriented. Now, it's the Patriots, so you can never discount them. They're still the Patriots. But I project that the Chiefs, coming off an emotional game against the Raiders, everyone was doubting them. They kind of fell off the map. I think that they're going to come in here into New England and have a big game. Again, 30-24. So New England is going to kind of struggle to stay in the game with them, but they're just not going to have the same firepower to match that Chiefs offense. And I know the Chiefs defense isn't great, but it's not bad. But the same with the Texans defense, even though the Texans defense has been playing fine.
And you said when teams can hold, or when New England can hold teams 23 or under, that's when they win games.
Yep.
I think they do hold the Chiefs 23 under.
Okay.
I have Patriots 27-23. Boo. Yeah, I know. You're going to hate it. New England, they're going to go 11-2. They're at home. Gillette Stadium. Like you said, 22, something like that straight. It's unbelievable what they do. I think on a neutral field, these teams are pretty even. I think we can agree on that.
Yeah.
Fairly even. But New England, just so dominant at home. And you add in the motivation that they were humiliated on Sunday Night Football against the Houston Texans. They're going to be ready to play. And I know you've expressed your concern with wide receivers not being able to get open.
Yep.
Well, what's a good fix for that? Play the Chiefs, where any wide receiver can get open.
Yeah. Well, I think my concern here for the Patriots is that not necessarily that they're not going to get open, but it's the big plays, the deep down the field plays that the Chiefs are able to get. I don't think that New England doesn't have one of those threats that they can just get the ball down deep, and that's why I don't think they're going to be able to keep pace with the Chiefs. Like again, going back to the Texans point, the Texans defense, I see the Texans and the Chiefs as relatively similar teams, defenses that are just okay defenses and very good offenses that on any given week can light it up. So I think the Chiefs are just a little bit better than the Texans are, and I think they're out to prove something. And I think New England is too, but all great things, all win streaks, they're just meant to be broken. And I think this is the week Kansas City comes into New England and wins. Again, 30-24.
Wow. Well, we know the matchup. Stephon Gilmore, top cornerback in the league.
Yes.
Tyreek Hill, fastest player in the league.
Yeah.
That's going to be very interesting. Last year, Belichick was able to limit the production of Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
In the playoffs. I think he had less than 2 receptions, I believe.
Yeah, that's another thing I'm going to say is that it's going to be maybe a revenge game for the Chiefs, last AFC Championship game. They're going to want to come in, and Andy Reid, who showed why he's still a great coach last week, coming off a bye, 40-9. It was a spectacular performance all around by the Chiefs. So I think it's not like the Patriots. I mean, obviously the Patriots will always have a coaching advantage with Belichick, but it's not like they have a major coach advantage. Andy Reid is still one of the top 3, top 5 coaches in the league for sure. So I think that Kansas City isn't going to blow New England out by any means because that's very hard to do. But I think that, again, they're going to win by 6. So, yeah.
And I look at the matchups in this game, and I say, well, how do you beat New England?
Yep.
You line up with 21 personnel, I formation, that's 2 tight ends on the field, and you hand it to the running back, and you gash him up the middle. Because we saw Baltimore really do that. They don't have a huge defensive front. The strength of their defense is the secondary, but Chiefs don't have a run game. Who's going to be their starting running back? Darwin Thompson, Spencer Ware, LaShawn McCoy. Well, actually, he will be it. But this is a weaker running back group. They don't really try to establish the run as much. It's more about Mahomes trying to make a play over the top to Tyreek Hill. And we saw Chargers, and we saw the blueprint kind of get out on Kansas City a few weeks ago. If you limit the deep plays, then they're not going to explode offensively. It's harder for them to throw it underneath and drive the ball down the field consistently.
Yeah, I agree with that point, but I just don't think it's that easy. I think people are getting, a little bit over crazy about this. I still think, the Chiefs, people are very low on the Chiefs right now. I think that they're one of the best teams in the league, and you can't doubt them.
Oh, I'm very high on the Chiefs, though.
Oh, yeah, no, I know that. Yeah. But I think it's just a game where but last week you were talking about the run game. Duke Johnson is the running back for the Texans, and he was mostly used in the receiving game. So I think that's how obviously they did have DeAndre Hopkins, who was able to suck up double teams, and I think that'll be Tyreek Hill this week for the Chiefs. They're different receivers, but they do, draw a lot of defensive attention. But I think it's just a very similar matchup to last week, and I think the Chiefs are a little bit better than the Texans are. So that's why I'm going to go with the Patriots. I just think that I understand your point with the deep plays. I think Andy Reid is better to know than only, deep plays is all they go for. I think, again, I agree that they rely a little bit too much on the pass with Patrick Mahomes. and maybe they could get LaShawn McCoy going on the ground. We'll see how that happens because I mean Shady McCoy, he's always been great. I mean obviously not great right now, but he's still a valid running back option because Damian Williams, he came in, ran pretty well. Darrell Williams. So I think it's just, again, running backs replaceable. So I think they're still going to be able to move the ball. It's not like they're just going to 100% rely on Patrick Mahomes in that passing game. So I think that's the reason why they're still going to be able to move the ball, and they're going to be able to outperform New England in terms of the bigger plays. They're going to get more of that done.
I don't disagree. New England doesn't have a downfield passing game, but Chiefs, they can give it up down the field. So, but a very close game, New England winning because of the home field advantage.
Yep.
If you want to go through the math here, I have New England half a point better on a neutral field. You add 4 for the home field in Gillette, where they're dominant, and you add half for the motivation. Patriots win by 4. Simple as that.
Okay. We'll see. That's one of my favorite matchups this week. So, yeah. Okay, let's move on to the next game. This is another game that isn't as big, but could be a very close game. Interesting game here. Tennessee 7-5, who is coming off of a win against the Colts. I don't think the scoreboard fully indicates what exactly happened because, went from 3 points possibly putting Indianapolis in control of the game to just a blowout by the Texans. I mean, not the Texans, sorry, the Titans. But, yeah, so I don't think that was as big of a win as it may look on the scoreboard, but it was still a win nonetheless, and they're a very hot team right now. Beat Jacksonville, I think it was 41-17 or something like that last week, 21 maybe. But
it was a blowout versus Jacksonville.
Yeah, and Oakland, who has just kind of been going the opposite direction. We were all talking about this team is great, and I don't think they're a bad team, but they just have not been playing like a AFC contender recently. So, yeah, what do you think? Tennessee's favored by 3 here. What do you think?
Last few weeks, Oakland has been in a downward spiral.
Yep.
Last few weeks, Tennessee has been in an upward spiral.
Yes, they have.
And so even though the game is in Oakland, I'm going to take Tennessee
black hole.
26-23.
Yeah.
Now, I can't go against Tannehill because, wait, did I say Oakland? I'm picking Tennessee to win the game. Okay. I might have said Oakland. Tennessee wins 26-23. I'm not going to go against Tannehill, especially when he plays this Oakland defense that's susceptible to the big plays, susceptible to any kind of plays that a team runs on offense.
Yeah, I think that that's true. But I think Derrick Henry, big game. Again, he's just been a monster recently. I think they're really going to get some of their wide receivers, A.J. Brown going.
Look for a big play down the field to A.J. Brown. I think it happens this week.
I definitely think that. I'm going to bump each of your scores. You had Tennessee 26, Oakland 23. I'm bumping them both up by 1. I have Tennessee 27, Oakland 24.
Wow, big agreement there.
Yeah, and I think Oakland's going to put up a fight better than they've put up recently, but Tennessee's too hot right now. I actually think they're a legitimate team. I think they're a very good team, and they're a great defensive team. We'll see how Derek Carr and that offense responds to that. I'll be interested to see it. But, yeah, I think if Oakland loses this game, it'll be a really tough road for them to get into that playoffs. So, especially because Tennessee would be a game ahead or 2 games ahead, and they would have the advantage. But so I think it's a must-win game for Oakland, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think Oakland's going to fall to 6-7. Tennessee is going to go to 8-5, and they're going to have a stranglehold on that 6th seed in the AFC. So yeah, that's what I have to say for that game.
Yeah, this one is a low-key decent game because I think it's going to be, like we said, pretty high scoring. Derek Carr has to start worrying about his job security for next year. I think Gruden might move on. And Gruden, I like him as a coach. I think he's going to have his guys playing. But they have been on that downward trend, and we'll see if he's able to point the arrow upwards.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't think so. So we both picked Tennessee here, relatively similar scores. Let's go on to the next game. Pittsburgh, who's 7-5. A team also competing for that 6th seed with Tennessee, who we just were talking about, at Arizona, who's 3-8-1, but their record isn't indicative of how good they are as a team. You might see 7-5, 3-8-1. Oh, 7-5 team. But Arizona, they've lost a bunch of close games this year, and I think they're a very good team, or not very good, but I think they can give any team a run for their money. Like we've seen 49ers a couple times, and Baltimore earlier in the year, but I think Pittsburgh will win this game by 1 point, 24-23 this game. Pittsburgh's favored by 2.5. I give the advantage to them because Arizona at this point, they're not really fighting for much. They're out of the playoff picture. But Pittsburgh, they have a lot to go. We both picked Tennessee, so I think they really need to keep pace with Tennessee by winning this week. So, yeah, I have Pittsburgh winning.
Well, you said we both picked Tennessee. You had 1 point more for each team in the Tennessee-Oakland, and you're going to have 1 point more for each team in Pittsburgh, Arizona. I have 23-22, Pittsburgh barely winning. I sat here in front of my little whiteboard, and I thought, who's going to win the game? And I said, I don't know. So it took me multiple minutes. This is truly a 50-50 game.
Yeah, I give Pittsburgh an edge because of that playoff, little dilemma they have there because they're, again, competing with Tennessee and those other teams right now. They are in that 6th seed. I don't think they're going to want to give it up. Obviously, I don't want to give it up, but I think they're going to come out with a little extra motivation, and they're going to come out and edge out the Arizona Cardinals.
And we saw Arizona fall flat on their faces last week.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Off a bye week, that's an embarrassing performance by Kingsbury's troops. And I look at the coaching advantage. Tomlin. He's a coach of the year candidate. Top 3 definitely in my ballot. And I think that could be the difference in the game. Devlin Hodges, a.k.a. the Duck. He's been a lot better than Rudolph. He gives a little bit of hope and inspiration to the team. But still, he's not any world beater. Arizona, they're going to give it up. The big plays down the field. Any kind of play to the tight end. Vance McDonald, big game. And this is really a toss-up game for me. Like you said, Arizona, a little bit better than the record states.
Yep.
Kyler's been great this season, although bad last week. It was bad all the way around. I wonder what Kingsbury was saying over the bye week if they kind of took the foot off the gas pedal. I worry about motivation. Their season's really over. And I'm going to take Pittsburgh because they're still playing for something.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. Okay, so let's move on to the next game. Sunday Night Football. We have Seattle in Los Angeles, Los Angeles is coming off a big win against Arizona, who we were just talking about last week. They finally kind of started getting things clicking because, they were also another team that was just on a downward spiral. But Seattle, Monday Night Football, they had a big win against Vikings. Almost let it slip there, but so I have Seattle winning this game 26-20. I think they're going to cover the spread. I think Rams are going to come back down to earth a little bit here. Seattle, I think, is a great team, and they're going to come out on top 26-20. What do you think, Evan?
I can't bet against Russell Wilson. I'm going to take Seattle, but only by 2, 26-24.
Yep.
So we kind of agree with the scoring of the game. Seattle,
Yeah.
We both give him 26. Goff at home, he's been better. The Rams, pretty impressive against Arizona, but a lot of that was Arizona shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
And Seattle's just a very good team. I thought they were a little bit overrated because I look at their personnel and it doesn't make me go, ooh, but I'm past that because Russell Wilson is too dominant.
Yeah. MVP candidate. Maybe should win MVP, but Russell, in the contention with Lamar Jackson. So now we have our final game, Monday Night Football, New York Giants 2-10 at Philadelphia Eagles 5-7, and I think this is going to be an ugly game just to watch. Eagles lost to Dolphins last week. Like, what were they doing? They needed that win. They're fighting with Dallas for that NFC East title, which is just pathetic. They're 5-7, still in contention for their division. But they need this win, so I'm going to give it to them 24-17. And it was a little bit weird because we've seen the defense struggle at points and the offense struggle at points. So it's just like, when will this team put it all together? I think it's going to be a struggle game for both teams. Giants, another bad team. So I just think Philadelphia is finally going to get a win, much-needed win. And if they lose this game, I don't know what to say. So I'm picking Philadelphia 24-17.
Defensively, Philadelphia 2 weeks ago great against Russell Wilson. Last week terrible against Ryan Fitzpatrick. I
Yeah.
don't know what's going on. I question Doug Peterson a little bit. We've had injuries with Philadelphia. I think they get back on track, win this 24-14 at home, Monday Night Football. Giants eliminated. They might have a little bit of that spoil your season kind of feel.
Yeah,
In prime
I can
time.
see that. Especially division rival, but I just think Philadelphia, better team, better coach, more talent. But that, I mean, obviously always doesn't translate to win. But I just think it is here. Just too much on the line for Philadelphia.
Yeah, and I think the Giants have kind of bailed on Pat Shurmur a little bit.
Yeah, and at this point, they'll know Dallas, have they won or not. And if they have won, it's definitely a must-win for them. If they don't win, then they can say goodbye to all their playoff hopes. So, yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Evan, for being here for this podcast.
Anytime. If you, wow, I'm impressed if you listened all this way.
Oh, yeah, me too.
50 minutes in.
Thanks for listening.
Yes, thank you, all the listeners who listened. The Hard Count on Instagram. That's where you
Into
want to check it out.
Sports on Instagram, on YouTube. So, yeah, thanks for listening. All right, goodbye.
See ya. Peace.